Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. This is Eric with the Dramatic. This is the Backbeat, and today I have my friend Shawn Woodley with me. Shawn, how's it going, man?
It's going good, Eric. I'm happy to be here. I'm honored.
Oh man, I'm glad to have you here. It's been exciting. We talked about it last year, and so we finally been able to get you in January, which is super cool. Um, so man, let's jump right into to talking some drum stuff. Um, Tell me what got you started playing the drums.
What got me started playing the drums was the minister of music at my grandparents' church. One day, he just told me when the other musicians were kind of transitioning out and going to different places, he said, "You're going to play drums." I'm like, "Okay." So I kind of got drafted in, and then I started falling in love with drums, and I was able to take lessons from Mr. Earl Bennett as well as a guy named Sam. He's a guitar player and drummer in my city, Columbus, Georgia, and I took a few lessons from with him before Mr. Earl.
Nice, nice. So you weren't looking to get into it. You were just kind of pushed into it and then like, oh, this is awesome. I love
Yeah,
this.
yeah, that's kind of how it happened because my mom and my grandma are drummers, and sometimes I would just see them and I would try to sneak on the drums when nobody's watching and just kind of tap, tap, tap
Nice.
until that one day when he asked me about playing, and from there, that's when I started falling in love with it.
That's fantastic. That's great. So you took lessons with Earl and with this gentleman in your town. And then what musically was like influencing you as you learned in terms of maybe drummers or bands or albums? What was influencing you?
Man, that's a great question, Eric. It might end up being a long answer,
That's
but it's a
okay.
great. Um, the bands that I would listen to a lot, especially when I was just first learning, was actually a lot of gospel jazz.
Okay. Nice.
And it's a drummer. His name is Curtis Fondrich, and he's played for a lot of different gospel groups as well as R&B. And he played for Dionne Warwick. He's played for it's a church called Christian Tabernacle, and he's also played on like a few other projects as well. And it's a lot of gospel jazz, and like a lot of different influences there. And it's another album that was really influential to me. And her name is Anita Wilson, and she created something called Worship Soul, which is like merging gospel and merging Motown together.
Nice.
And when she did that, then it made me start really researching like Motown and the drummers from that time, like Ben. Um, I don't want to mess the guys up name up, but Benny Benjamin and
Okay.
like the Funk Brothers. And man, like just that whole movement by itself is like awesome because they were creating classics in like the studio, and they were using like the regular session musicians at that time, and they weren't like trying to make anything like special. They just got together and everybody locked in, and it was amazing. And we're still listening to the Motown albums from back then. So those are two the main influences: gospel jazz and Motown.
Nice. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. What are you playing? Do you have a do you are you playing I know you're playing at your church. So is that your kit that you're playing over there, or do you have one there and one at home?
Actually, I only have like one kid at home, but the drum set that's at the church was actually donated from one of the guys in town. He was like, "Hey," he said, "I need you to find a home for the drums." And I was like, "Yeah, man, we'll take it."
Nice. What kind do you know what kind of kit is it?
It's a Tama kit,
Okay, yeah, they make some good stuff.
and I love Tama. And the kit I have at the house is a Pervy.
Okay. Not familiar with that brand. Okay.
And those are the main two kits that I use. And I also use like different kind of snares. Like I use DW snares, and I also use like Tama snares. I love Tama. I haven't had a chance to try Pearl yet, but that's next on my radar.
Yes, next the next one up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, those companies make some great drums for sure. What is what does your practice look like? Like what do you do to keep getting better as a musician?
Well, a lot of my practice time is just using what I've learned either from the minister of music at my grandparents' church or from Mr. Earl. And it's a lot of like hand exercises like stick control, syncopation, and working on those routines.
Yeah.
And another thing I do in my practice time is I work on my pocket and just work on a particular beat, and I try to see like how many grooves can I get out of that one beat, and making sure that I just
Nice.
lock in with the metronome. And I've actually picked that exercise up from Jay Latoya as well. She's one of my other favorite drummers and a really big influence on my drumming. She was the drummer for Music Soul Child at one point,
Okay, cool.
and she's a producer now as well as a drummer for a studio in Atlanta called Studio 806.
Nice.
So that's pretty much what my practice time looks like, Eric. Just breaking down things between hand technique, grooves, working on feels, and everything is just like in order. And I pick like what day I'll work on this exercise or this feel and stuff like that. That's pretty much how my practice time looks.
Nice. Yeah, that's good and to keep incorporating like rudiments and I think playing with a click is something that not everybody talks about. But it's amazing what a difference it makes. Like I've found um, when I'm working on songs for our channel, while I'm like the files are opening up for the next one, I put a click track on, and I'll just play grooves and just lock in, you know. And I found that that makes a difference too when I'm playing without a click. Like at church, we're not using a click, so whatever tempo we start at, I find that it's easier to stay locked into that because there's kind of like this muscle memory that we develop um, when you're practicing that, you know, practicing that way. And then, so that's always really helpful. And that's cool that you're doing that. I think that is um, something that if somebody's not doing, can always do to improve. That's always one more thing to do to get better at that. Being a tighter, you know, a tighter drummer.
All right, Eric.
Th-
Well, you
th-
talked about the. I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Eric?
no, no, you're good. You're all right. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was going to say when you talked about the muscle memory, that's so true. Because like once you work with the metronome, you're not thinking or a click track one and two and three and four, and it's like it feels natural now.
Right. Absolutely. I've heard people say like just pretend that it's another percussionist like playing another part in your ear that never gets it wrong. They're just always right. Like the one that I've got on my computer is just like a little like clicking sound, you know. So I've seen ones where you can like change the sound like a cowbell sound or you know or whatever works. But I find it fun even when it's challenging and it's good. So now you also have a YouTube channel and you do there's a couple different things you do and I want to talk about each one of them. But you do drum covers. That's one of the things that you do on your channel. How do you pick a song to cover on your channel?
That's a great question, Eric. How I pick a song to cover would be like mainly like a song I like would be number one, and then Another reason would be because I love the message of the song too. Like,
Gotcha.
especially when I watch like your channel, I love like um some of the songs that you play as well, and it has a great message. And I'm like, sometimes I comment on them like, man, I love the message because uh, when I understand the message of the song and whatever it's saying, like it helps me feel the song because I
Yeah.
can relate to the lyrics too, as well as I love the beat. And I also may pick a song because it may be a particular like groove that I'm working on that incorporates that beat. So it actually kind of brings that beat to life where it's not just like me playing a groove out of a handbook, but now it's like me playing a groove with a song.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a huge difference. It's always, I've said it's like somebody could be a good singer, and hit all the right notes. But if they're not feeling the emotion that's in the content of the song, it's just a good sounding song with no feeling. And I think it's the same way with any instrument too. Like you could sit down there and lock in a really tight groove, but when you feel the music, it's not just this clinical note thing. It's something that's inside of you that you're now expressing through your instrument. It makes it a lot more interesting to listen to, I think. Do you find that to be true too?
Yeah, I definitely do, Eric. And that's kind of what the minister of music at my grandparents' church told me because at one point, I was just kind of learning all these different grooves and things like that. But I didn't have any feeling or I
Yeah.
wasn't relating to the song. And I was just like, okay, here we go again. I'm just going to play this song. And I guess he's a drummer too. So he knew, he was like, oh, he's like, you sound good, but you're doing too much. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he said, Shawn, he said, you got to feel what you're playing. And now I really took that to heart. And I think about, okay, what am I playing? And how does it resonate with me? Or I'm praising God, so let me just be happy He woke me up this morning, and that's just a
Yeah.
reason to praise in itself, whether I'm having a good day or bad day.
Yeah, man, that's so true. That's so true. I try to think about it like this too, is whatever I'm playing, I want it to be like an expression of love back to him. Um, Even if the song's not about him, just using what little ability I have, I want to give that back in one way, shape, or form. And I like what you were saying about like just man, just praising God with what I'm doing. And then I think too, it's easy to play too much. It's like because I think it's especially in church music, it's easy to get bored with the the just like locking it down and be like, I can fit a fancy fill in here. And it's like I'm always like, just because I can doesn't mean I should. And so like having this going on in your head at the same time of like, oh, here's an idea, but does it serve the song? Does it serve the other musicians too that I'm playing with? I felt like there's a lot goes on in your head when you're making music. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Like you feel it, like you said, but then there's all this head stuff going on. Like, does this fit right? And
Hey, Eric. I mean, that's a good point. 'Cause I think sometimes, like us as drummers, we do want to bring out the newest thing that we worked on because we're like, maybe it might work here, and
yeah,
we're not thinking about the other musicians. And over time, I had to learn that too. It's like, hey, drums is the way I speak, and it's a language, but I don't want to be the only one talking. And if
yeah,
it's other people in the conversation with me, I need to kind of step back at times and allow them to speak. And like that just opened up my ears to let the piano player speak, the bass player speak, and
Yeah.
everybody can have fun because it's not like the person you're talking to that every time you try to say a word, they already have a whole paragraph ready to say something.
That's right. I like that. It's like a conversation. What made you want to start a YouTube channel?
Um, Actually, what made me want to start a YouTube channel was Mr. Earl because he said at that time when I was taking lessons from him, he's like, "Hey, since you're learning all these different things, it's good to kind of record yourself so you can actually see and hear yourself." Because
Yeah.
he's like, just playing in your house, it's not gonna be enough. So that's why I started doing it at first, and from there, then it became something like I enjoy. It's not like, okay, this is part of the lesson. Let me put out a song and then Mr. Earl grace it.
Right. Right. So then you found yourself enjoying that and like, oh yeah, this is a neat expression.
And like also like I learned about drum community and like it's awesome, man, because I get a chance to see drummers from all over the world and we all love music and we're all like taking the time to encourage each other. Like you encourage me a lot, Mr. Earl, and especially on Facebook, my drum community there, and man, it feels awesome. Like that's what kind of keeps you going when you have other people to share ideas with and encourage you to keep going.
Yeah, that community is super cool. Um, that was something that when Loretta and I started our channel, we didn't even know that was going to be a thing. You know what I mean? We were just like, let's do this project, and then all of a sudden we started connecting with different people from around the country and like you said from around the world, and that's super super neat. Like what a neat thing that we're able to do uh with that. So also on your channel you have a segment called Behind the Music where you interview other drummers, or are they all drummers, or the ones that I've heard are drummers?
Yeah, it started out as just drummers, and eventually it turned into singers, and then it also turned into like guitar players and like local artists in my hometown. And yeah, like how it's pretty much started was me and a couple of my friends was like brothers got together, and I told them I'm like, hey, I want to do something that's just bigger than drum covers because I don't want to just be another drummer that's just like drum covers. I actually want to branch out and do other things, and my biggest thing is actually like to just make a difference. And I felt like doing behind the music was my way of making a difference because I was interviewing different people and they get a chance to share their story. And I get a chance to listen and ask questions that I probably wouldn't have had a chance to ask on just messaging them. So
Yeah,
that's how Behind the Music started.
that's cool. And I know I was fortunate enough to be asked to be on there, and I know you've had Earl Bennett on there, and and some other folks. There's a couple that I haven't seen, or people that I wasn't aware of at the time, but that's really really cool. And so I love the story behind why you started that. And do you do you like that more than doing drum covers, or do you like drum covers more than the interviews? What is your favorite thing to do?
Um, Actually, it's like a tie because through Behind the Music, I've had opportunities to um, kind of salute like a lot of my drum influences as well. Um, I can name just a few because I know that might be a long list, but my top five, I've interviewed four out of the five. Um, Mr. Earl, Dimension Music at my grandparents' church, Eric Lane, Jay Latoya Hester, Mr. Curtis Fondridge. Um, they're all my top four favorite drummers, and interviewing them and hearing how they started and get a chance to ask them questions that I usually wouldn't be able to ask on just like Messenger or like on a phone call. It was awesome, man. I just got a chance to salute them that way and just say, hey, if it wasn't for y'all inspiring the way I play, like I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So hey, this is my way of giving back to y'all and giving you your flowers.
Nice. I love it. That's super cool. Yeah. I would have to say it's a tie for me too, because I love playing the drums, but I also like connecting with connecting with people and getting to know them a little bit better. And this is a talking with people in this environment like is a great tool for that, like you were saying. That's super awesome. So, Shawn, what is the biggest thing you've learned? If you could put it into like one concept, what's the most important thing you feel like you've learned in your drumming journey?
Oh, that's a great question, Eric. I'd really had to think about that one. I guess the biggest lesson I learned would be the value of balance. And like what I mean by that is we have our time where we practice and we jam with our friends, family, and things like that. And I also learned like, hey, drumming has brought a lot of people together and may not have known about each other. But it's
Yeah.
also the side of it is where I'm at now in my life is I'm getting ready to get engaged.
Yeah,
And
man.
yeah, man, I'm excited.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, Eric. My fiance, she has two sons and she has a daughter, and now kind of learn the value of having a family and doing things with them as a family. But I also have my time that I practice in. My fiance is supportive of that. She's like, okay, hey, I'm playing poker tonight. You're not into poker? Okay, you can go play drums. I'm like, cool. So it's not like it was before. I learned that lesson. I used to just practice like 3 hours every day, which it's nothing wrong with it, but um, I was kind of burning myself out. But now I may only spend like an hour and 30 minutes, and I can do everything I need in that hour and 30 minutes, and I feel good about it, and I don't feel like I'm neglecting it.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's nothing wrong with that at all. If you have that available when there's other people in your life, your priorities ebb and flow, with that. And I've found like the value of a significant other that understands your creative impulses and needs and is willing to like allow you to have that time that you need for that. Like, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sounds like that's what you've got too. Like, yeah, I don't want to take you away from that, but then you're learning to balance, like spreading your time out because now it's not just you and drums anymore. It's you, a fiance, and kids. So there's a lot more to juggle when that happens for sure. So that's good balance. Yeah, man. And I think sometimes it's hard to do. I'm the kind of guy that can easily get self-focused and just wanting to, like I need to get this done and kind of forget that there's other things going on around me that need my attention. And so to have somebody that can lovingly be like, I need you over here, for this. And then on the flip side, Loretta will be like, do you need to practice? Because aren't we supposed to film this week? Like, yeah, I guess I should. I guess I should play a little bit. Anyway, so let me ask you this too. A similar question. Um, just having started your YouTube channel, What is the most important thing you've learned about that, about having a YouTube channel?
Um, the most valuable lesson I've learned from having a YouTube channel would be patience, because sometimes, you may want to put out a video and nobody may watch it, or only a
Yeah,
few people watch it. So I'm not getting discouraged, and just learning that you're mainly doing it because you love it. And that's what Mr. Earl told me. And
yeah,
it also taught me like perseverance, because it's a lot of life skills and like starting something from the bottom and just staying dedicated to it, and you know just stay focused, and eventually like just know everything will get better in the goals you have set for yourself. If you work really hard, eventually you will get there. It may not be right away, but that's kind of what I learned from um, the YouTube channel, just not getting discouraged and just enjoying the journey.
yeah. I think Earl and I have talked about that too, and it's okay to like have the goals, but like you said, at the core, if you're not doing it because you love it, you're going to get burned out really fast because the growth's not going to come overnight. I think that's what I think we'll look at people like Cooper Drummer or Quibus Pottinger who have like millions of followers or whatever, and we're like, yeah, man, I'm gonna drop a dope drum cover, and that's gonna happen to me, and then we're like, oh, nobody watched that at all. Like I even hashtagged it, and it's like I think that's kind of symptomatic of our culture, is we expect everything to happen immediately. And when it starts to be a grind and we have to put continued effort into it, we get discouraged. So what you said and what Earl said, that if you love doing it, if you have fun doing it, and that's your primary motivator, then even when it grows slowly, you're still going to love the process and that journey of doing that. Earl's channel's grown so much, and it didn't start like that. So he's continued to put in the effort, and he does it because he loves it. And that's kind of how I feel too. Like if it ever stops being something I enjoy doing, I'll stop doing it. Like I'll just play. I've always enjoyed playing, but if I stop enjoying the process of creating covers for YouTube and engaging people, which I don't think I'll ever get tired of that. but yeah, stop it, man. Don't do it if it's not fun. That's so important. That is so important. So let's see. Okay, let's take a break and see what else I can ask. I'm trying to think of. I don't want to repeat anything. Um,
Eric, I was going to kind of speak on what you were just saying about doing it because you love it, and that's so true. Because I mean, I seeing somebody play a song that they really don't want to play, like you can't enjoy it.
yeah,
I mean, yeah,
that's so good. That's so true, man. Like, that's the beauty of having our channels, right? It's like we can play whatever we want. Like I'm not in a position where I have to play something that I don't really like at all. you know and sometimes you have to do that, and then I've been fortunate to be working with an artist who I genuinely love the music he's creating. So it's not like, oh, this one again. I love playing those songs over and over again with him, and it's so super fortunate that way, because I imagine that there's moments, and this happens at church for me. I think there's songs that, like, even if I like the song, I hate the drum part. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, this song again. And like this, I was just telling Loretta, the song Graves to Gardens by Elevation Worship, great song. I love the message of it. I get so bored with that, like the rhythm of that song. And so now I'm like, okay, how can I make it, keeping the same feel, but make it more interesting for me without overplaying. So that's always a challenge. Um, let's see here. So
That's
that it was
awesome.
good because I'll just cut my little, oh, what can I ask you now? Out, and we'll just go to you piggybacking on to the thing about having fun. Um, let's see. Okay, here's a fun question.
Yeah.
So how long have you been playing the drums?
I've only been playing for 7 years.
Okay, 7 years. Good deal. Well, that's a good chunk of time. Though I'm way older than you, so I've been playing way.
I thought you were like 30 something when the first time we talked.
Yeah, I was like, all right, yeah. I appreciate that. I'm gonna be 50 in February,
Nice,
uh,
sure.
which is crazy, man. And I started playing when I was 12, so it's insane. Um, but I feel like in the last 4 years, I've become not like I've arrived at like this amazing drummer, but like I feel like I'm a better drummer now than I ever was like before because I'm putting so much time in. And do you feel like you notice those incremental improvements the more you play?
Definitely. I would say my last two drum covers probably have been better than the ones in the past. Simply because what we talked about earlier were understanding like the conversation side of drums and mainly like this too. I'm really just enjoying the song. And
Yeah.
I'm not focused on like, okay, I'm just gonna work on this beat. It's like, okay, I love the music. I love everything about the song, so I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I feel like my plans gotten better. And like you said earlier, you get a chance to kind of watch yourself too, and it's easier. Like, okay, I'm watching a video and of myself, and I can kind of like monitor my own growth and see like, okay, I started here, or when I go back to a video, I was like, oh, I shouldn't have did that there. I should have did something else, and I can really critique myself because I can actually watch my plan on a video versus trying to catch it on a live stream or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I know for me, one of the things that I notice when I play is I'll be like, ooh, I need to tighten that technique up too, because like I'm like all forearming something, and less finesse with my fingers. And then even sometimes I'll watch my face and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look like I'm so mad or not having fun. And that's not it. I'm just like concentrating, you know? So I was like trying to like, okay, let my face show how much fun I'm having and critique myself that way. But I think it's a great way to get better as a player and even as a performer, like to see what you look like on film. Because like you don't, if you don't, you kind of very subjectively experiencing it. You're not experiencing it like everybody else does because you're the one behind the drums and you can't see what you're doing. So yeah,
That's
I'm with you. I would recommend that everybody does it. Just pop your phone up. You don't have to create a YouTube channel. Just pop your phone up and watch yourself play back and see what, where the things are that are hanging you up that you can work on.
right. And I've done that before too, where you talked about tensing up. Like, man, I had a bad problem with that. So I was like, yeah, I had to like take down the whole drum cover. When I heard myself, I was like, no, it's not it.
You know who, like one of the guys that I love to watch him play is Drumman 190 because he always just looks so relaxed behind the kit. Where I might be like, is this right? He's just like, I'm just jamming to it. And I'm like, man, I need to be that like just centered and relaxed when I'm playing. You know what I mean? So I think that's something that I'm trying to get better at myself. And let's see, let me ask you this. You've played long enough to to answer this question for sure. Um, do you feel like no matter how much you improve, that there's always room to grow?
Yeah, definitely. I think what keeps me in that mindset is actually being able to talk to my favorite drummers, and when I hear like they're still working on things and trying to grow. And also you got like the Steve Gass out there, the Steve Jordans, and you got Aaron Spears, rest in peace to him, that they're always striving to get better. And I feel like that's the best mindset to have, because at, when you're always trying to grow and just trying to see, okay, can I improve here? Can I improve there? Then you don't ever get bored, because it's
Yeah.
always something to strive for.
Yeah. And I think all the great drummers have that attitude, like of there's always still something to learn and to learn from somebody else, like watching somebody else play. Oh man, how did they do that? That was super cool. Have you watched Larnell Lewis play?
Yeah,
The dude is
Larnell Lewis is on
insane.
another level.
Yeah. Oh, like if like every time I watch him, I'm like I learned something, but I'm like I don't know that I could even duplicate any part of what he just did. Like he's in a
Same here.
league of his own. Goodness gracious. Well, Shawn, what advice would you give to somebody starting out on the drums?
What advice I would give to someone starting out on the drums would be to not give up, to stay dedicated to it, and just be okay with not being a professional overnight. Like if you work at it and then you just keep working at it every day, you'll get better than the day before.
That's good. That's good. Be willing to put that work in, right?
Yeah,
Don't you're not going to be a rock star tomorrow.
no, there's nobody that's great on drums. They were never great overnight. It took years for them to get there.
Yeah, that's so important to remember. Yours, we get to see the finished product, right? I mean, it's always still a work in progress, but we get to see, oh, they're at this point. We didn't see from the beginning, all the way up to that point. And so it's easy to be like, how come I'm not that good? I just started playing yesterday. How come I'm not as good as Larnell Lewis?
Right, right. I think culture does that too. A lot of times we'll celebrate people once they get the award, or get the 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers. But a lot of times we don't clap for people when they start, because you got to think about like how hard is it to start. So it's like celebrate the starts.
Yeah, that's good. That you made me think of a Bible verse that my mom always has reminded me of, and it's I don't remember where it is, Shawn, but it's in there. But the idea the idea is um, don't despise small beginnings.
I've heard of that one.
And so like what you're saying is let's celebrate the start. You got up today and you practiced. Celebrate that. You know what I mean? There'll come a time where you're at playing at a different level and you're playing out or your channel has grown, but and celebrate that, but celebrate each step along the way, including the start. That's great, man. I like that. I might quote that on Facebook because that was so good. Celebrate the start. Yeah, that's so good. So kind of like that question, what advice would you give to somebody starting their own YouTube channel?
Um, the advice I would give to them, because for me, I'm still basically like learning about YouTube and how it works. I would say just the same thing. Celebrating the start, and just making sure that anytime like you put out a video, and even if one person watches it or two people watch it, like be happy for people that took the time out of their day. And I had to learn that because my family told me that, like, celebrate that. because it could be where nobody watches the video. So those two
Yeah.
people watching it, it's like, hey, I feel good about those two people watching it because they love what I was doing and they took the time out of their day to comment on it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I've said this before. I'm always amazed that anybody even cares about what we put out, right? So that even one person would take 5-10 minutes out of their day to watch a video that we created, like, is it's like that's a lot to be thankful for. To just
Right.
even one person stopped what they were doing to check it out. That's amazing to me. And it's not in just one or two views, man. I mean, that's still something to celebrate.
That's true, man. I think the world would be a better place if we kind of adopt that mindset.
Yeah, dude,
Right.
celebrate the little things. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it's so easy, like for me, sometimes I can easily get caught up in the numbers, of how many subs did we pick up today? How many views? Oh, that one didn't get as many views as I would have liked it to have gotten. Last time a cover by that band got this many views, like, I have to like deliberately stop that train of thought, and bring it back to what you were saying earlier of like, did you have fun doing that cover? Then who cares if 5 people or 5,000 people watched it? Who cares if you enjoyed it? You know, that's got to be the heart of it, I think.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely my heart on it, and it hasn't always been that way, like what you were saying. Because I had a moment in my life where I wanted to prove I still had it on the drums, and actually I got injured. Like
Oh no.
practicing the same way I practice now, the exact same way. And I just look at it as that was kind of like God just kind of sitting me down for a moment and really getting me to think about what's my heart posture
Yeah.
behind drumming. And that was a wake up call for me. And I started like appreciating like anytime I get up there and play because um, at, at one point I couldn't play for 2 weeks. And those are the longest 2 weeks of my life just looking at the drums and I can't play them.
They're so close. I can touch them. Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. I broke my toe once in high school, and it was probably not smart, but I still played. I broke it in PE class, and I was like turning my foot to the side so I could use the not broken side of my foot. And um but I did too. There was like a 2 or more year period where I didn't have a place to set my drum kit up. Um so my only outlet was Sunday morning, and it wasn't like I wasn't really enjoying what was happening at that church we were at the time, before we moved here. And so yeah, it's frustrating when you want to do something and you can't. You literally can't do it.
And that's awesome. You kind of push yourself through it because I would have never thought about turning your foot and try to
Well,
keep playing.
well, I was like 16 and probably dumb. Like, fortunately, I didn't do any permanent damage to my foot. So I was like, no, I gotta play, man. But when I was young, like I had my drum set in my basement, and so my mom will still tell you, she'll be like, I never had to ask Eric to practice, but I always had to ask him to stop to see if his homework had been finished. But I definitely liked music way more than I liked academics, for sure.
I'm pretty sure all of us are like that.
I mean, I did all right, right? But I loved music has always just been, since I kind of discovered it, like it's just always been such a source of joy and inspiration. And I find like I feel like I've heard God speak into my life through music, and of all different styles and you know genres, church music, not in church music. Like there's just places where I just have had such a visceral like experience of feeling God speak just right into here, about something that I needed in that moment. And I love that about music. That just is one of the coolest things to me, that it connects like that, regardless of like language or background or whatever. Like music connects people.
That's so true, Eric. 'Cause people from all over the world, we can all listen to the same music and be inspired by it. And that's awesome. And it also brings people together that may have never known each other. Because like one of my best friends, who's like a brother to me, we played on the same worship team together, and that's how we became friends from there. And also through playing at a church, that's how I got a chance to meet my fiance. So man, that's one thing I love about music is the relationships you can build with people too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people, the band at church, man, I love those folks so much. I have so much fun playing with them, even if I don't feel like getting up and going to church. Like I'm always glad that I did, because just the experience of doing that with them is so enriching, and I would do anything for like any of those folks. So yeah. And then like we were talking about earlier too, like music via YouTube has connected so many of us, people that we would not have had a chance to have met um, 10 years ago, unless we were in the same place at the same time. We would have never heard of each other. And I think that's a super cool, another cool way that music brings people together. Well, do you have any final thoughts or anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to share with um with the viewers out there?
Well, Eric, you pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about today, and I'm just grateful for you interviewing me, and grateful for a chance to just share my story. And would just say anybody out there who is starting to play drums or have been playing drums for a while, just enjoy the journey. Hey, despite what your journey looks like, just keep enjoying it and just keep playing and keep enjoying the relationships you're building with different people.
That's good. Enjoy the journey. I love that. Well, I've enjoyed our conversation, Shawn. I enjoyed the one we did for your channel. I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. And you all, if you haven't already, do head over to Shawn Woodley's channel. I'll put links, all of that stuff. Subscribe, show him some love, connect with him. And let's see, I think that's everything, man. I think we did it.
Hey, I think so too, Eric.
Well, thanks for hanging out with me today, dude. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. It's awesome to be here.
Man, it's been my pleasure. You guys, again, go sub to Shawn Woodley. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time.